Gachagua is not untouchable and that he will be arrested for alleged incitement as he stepped up his blistering attack on the government. Bwana Kirwa, this is what is expected from an opposition leader, that you will criticize the government and you'll be hard-hitting on the government. Has it gotten to a point where you feel probably the former deputy president has gone overboard, therefore attracting this kind of response?
Well, again, Fred, it reminds us of the intolerance of those in power. For them, they can say anything and they want to let it go. And when somebody does criticize, that is not business as usual. If the next election is going to be stolen by anybody, it was not that he is going to foment trouble. He was saying if anything is going to be to the contrary, then some of the events of the past will be like child play. This therefore means we should be able to interrogate what are the factors that precipitated the 2007 post-election violence that visited this country and did a lot of destruction to the extent that we lost close to 1,000+ people, both killed by the police and some of them killed by rogues that were visiting this country from different parts of Kenya. This therefore means that, yes, we have to be cautious about what we say, but the way they lifted the whole issue went beyond, because I think they have been a bit sort of very dismissive of Rigathi Gachagua, wanting to make him look like he's a tribal kingpin, somebody who wants to cause trouble to the rest of the country, as a way of trying to isolate some part of this country and make that scare that lest you tolerate, we're going to isolate you and make you look bad. When we come together, whether it is Wamunyoro or Ishaweri or Sugoi, it doesn't mean the grounds become a factor that is tribal. Those of us who were in Wamunyoro the other Sunday came from different parts of the country. Personally, I come from the Rift Valley, and many other people come from different parts of the country. So I think the whole issue, if I was to give any recommendation, is that yes, let's be careful about what we say, but it is also important those in the government should not just be scaremongering us. If I make a mistake, instead of just issuing statements in church service and also inciting the local people, because where Murkomen was making that statement was a place where the community in that particular congregation happened to be the community that Murkomen does come from. And therefore, he was also inciting his people by talking about Rigathi Gachagua. Why doesn't he issue a statement from his office? Mm-hmm. And if they want Rigathi Gachagua, they can call him. And I'm sure he can drive himself to DCI and record a statement accordingly. So my take is that let us not build this intolerance. The post-election violence of 2007 was precipitated by the statements that were made by various FM stations in the run-up to the general election of that year. And the spark that destroyed the country was the fact that tension was already palpable among the people, only for the margin between President Kibaki and the Prime Minister Raila Odinga to be so small a margin that that election could have gone either way, just like the other election. Remember, for the last, I think, 5 elections, except the one of 2002, it has been too close, a difference of between 150 to 300,000. And the one of 2013 was almost going to be a runoff, except when there was an issue in court. There was a case that if you look critically, and I'm not a lawyer, that case was tantamount to amending the Constitution, because the very essence of the Constitution at that particular time was very clear. There are those we call spoiled votes, and the votes that marked wrongly, and the spoiled votes were more than the votes that were garnered by one of the candidates, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, in that particular election. And that allowed some people just to go without going for round two. Otherwise, it was not critical, 50% plus one vote. Yeah.
Of course, as a nation, we cannot ignore or forget our history and the 2007 happenings and what happened even in 2000. That is one of the issues around our history that we need to learn from. But is this government becoming, or this administration becoming too hypersensitive that even the mention of the 2007 and 2008 and the happenings around it should not be discussed?
Fred, it's a very difficult to forget what happened in 2007, 2008. And in the midst of that chaos, where Kenyans went into a kind of a civil war, Kenyans against each other, then I was appointed that time to be the Minister for Communication and became the spokesperson around that time. And it was so difficult. And I think I've said it even here, how difficult it was to see to see how Kenyans were killed, including kids, small children, because of a political situation that led to that. We can't forget that. It's something of a background that against which we must say never again should we experience something like that. And I think what former Deputy President Gachagua was trying to say is, in a way, he could have just said never again should we experience this. The way he put it, he would be misunderstood, especially with a very sensitive situation like this. He would have been misunderstood, and he was. Although yesterday I saw him coming back to explain what he meant, what he said was. The truth is, those of us in the situation right now, in the political system right now, in one way or another, were involved in that particular time. And so you are reminding us of things we don't want to remember anymore. What has happened to this country? This is like the best country that East Africa and Africa should have in terms of democracy. This is the country that everybody's watching to see how we move. But when you start thinking that you can't imagine something, Murkomen has said, no one is above the law. That's true. That's basic in the law, in the Kenyan Constitution, Kenyan law. If you want to arrest this guy for saying what he said, how many people are you going to arrest for what they say in this country? You better then open up more jails, because people in a democracy must speak. In a democratic, the freedom to speak. You have to link people in this country to the freedoms that they have in our Constitution. We have, by the way, our rights chapter is impossible for you to come and tell me. I mean, look at how many people you can arrest them, jail, but you know, you try to arrest them. Courts, if they really stand by the Constitution of this country and the laws of this country, you'll get them out. The reason I'm saying all this is because the days are gone, far gone, when you think if you are the Minister for Interior or you are the DC or the PC, you could threaten anybody and just say, I'm going to arrest you. I mean we have a law in this country. So let's move beyond that. Let's begin to say, how are we going to protect the freedoms of the people who speak for us? Because, I mean, look at what has just happened in Tanzania. Kenyans would be wondering what has happened to Tanzania. And so don't bring that to us and trying to show that you are a very powerful person, that you can do that. Let's understand what Kenya is. Kenya has come of age. We are no longer in the stage. Remember, when I was an MP in 1988, one day, the KANU decided and said, we want to expel you. They expelled me out of Kano. But why? Because they had the power that time. That time the constitution said Kenya is a one-party state. There's nothing I could do that particular time. So I was expelled from Kano. I lost my seat. But today, would you even try something like that? You can't. I mean, the constitution in Kenya is different. Mm-hmm. We then fought for the multi-party democracy. And now where we are with the new constitution 2010, I wish Kenyans would know that people would be speaking, but please don't take us back in any of those things. Don't take us back. We can't even go back. Mm-hmm. You know, there's situations where you say go back, and I can't even go back because it's not even possible to go back.
And before we get a legal perspective from Wakili, let's just see probably what the former deputy president said and the jitters that have emanated from that. Jitters over Gachagua's remarks, that's a story filed on TV47. Let's watch it.
Kenyans have solutions to all the problems that bedevil this nation.
Barely 2 days after former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's controversial sentiments on the 2007-2008 violence, a section of Kenya Kwanza leaders has condemned the remarks, terming them unfortunate for the country, especially coming from national leaders. In an interview with Obina TV on Friday, the former second-in-command argued that if the 2027 election were to be messed with, and President William Ruto ostensibly forced on Kenyans, the country would witness more violence than recorded after the 2007 elections.
Mimi sijasema Kenya itakuwa na fujo. Mimi nimesema, nikisikiza wa Kenya vile wanasema we William Ruto usijaribu kuiba uchaguzi. Na nimeuliza IBC, please be patriotic, msiweke hii nchi kwa shida.
Alego Usonga MP Samuel Atandi and Korea East MP Mara Kitayama denounced Gachagua's remarks, cautioning him to be mindful of his statements. The lawmakers urged Kenyans to prioritize peace and ignore leaders whose words might fuel division in the country.
So it should be the last person to talk about political violence. Because if he is the one who's going to agitate for political violence, then he must be worried, he should be worried that his members of this community are everywhere.
Amani hii tulio nayo, hatujakuwa na amani hii kwa kubahatisha. Viongozi wetu wameipangia, wakaiona na wakatazamia.
History has shown when there is a contested election, there can be violence. And it has happened. And we must refer to history. That's why I said we saw what happened in 2007. So please, IBC, make sure you don't create a situation where we can have a recurrence of what happened in 2007.
Meanwhile, youth leaders led by Morara Kebaso and Kasmel Makaure stressed the importance of achieving accountability in the upcoming 2027 elections, calling on the IEBC to maintain fairness.
The young people of this country can lead. We are not too young to lead. Kutoka saa hii, nilisikia mwingine akisema ati watafanya vile walifanya 2007. Kwa sababu wamezoea kupiganisha vijana. Mimi nataka niwaambie hivi. In 2027, hakuna kijana atapiganishwa na mwingine.
Tusipopata justice for victims of police brutality, tutarudi pale pale. Ufisadi kama itaendelea, tutarudi pale pale.
The government has made it clear that it will not tolerate politically instigated violence or ethnic incitement. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Wakili Nyaribo, what is your assessment? Do the remarks by the former deputy president, are they tantamount to incitement? Because that's what everyone is saying.
I've told you, Fred, every time we come here that, you know, you can take everybody or anybody to court for that matter, but will you succeed? That's a whole lot of different theses. So I don't think whatever Rigathi Gachagua said will amount to incitement of a criminal nature. Self-expressions, free speech are issues that are protected strongly by the Constitution. So he said two things. Why are you focusing on the second one? He talked about possibility of interfering with elections. And then he said violence. So why are you avoiding the first part? You see, the first part is discussing about there should be no interference with the elections. So are you going to arrest him because you are going to interfere with elections, or because he said you might interfere with elections? So I think it's important for Kenya Kwanza to come out clearly and say they intend to hold a free and fair elections. Yeah. What the public is saying is that even if you appoint William Ruto family to be the chairperson of the IEBC, that the country will still not vote for William Ruto. You see, this sounds like a hate statement, but it is not. It is just expression, self-expression. When people say Ruto must go, you can use that as an incitement remark. It is not. It is free speech and, self-expression.
Same as one term?
Of course, also when they say one term, by the way, there are people, there is a bad, a wrong way of holding on to government, and you assume the government is yours. Government belongs to the people of Kenya. So if they say you must go, or they say that it's one term, it is not an affront to the government. No, it is the individual they do not want to see there.
Let's get it clear from you, Achilles. So saying Ruto must go, saying one term, not tantamount to incitement.
It is not. Okay. I mean, it is not. If you go to the courts, you will be told it is not tantamount to incitement. Now, I want to remind you, Rigathi Gachagua actually repeated the words of Baba. In the past, Baba has repeatedly said that if you steal these elections, we will make this country ungovernable. What is that? Mm-hmm. And then he says that...
That is a direct threat.
Well, he has said it, isn't it? My point is, was he arrested? No. I mean, of course, Baba, yes, has his own person, the way he is. But even though, has he not set standards on how Kenyans should speak? Mm-hmm. Is he not among the people who have fought for freedom of speech in this country, removing Section 2A of the previous constitution? So you can't, even if you arrest Rigathi Gachagua, that actually is fine. And as I mentioned the other day, we will be very happy to rally behind him, to go to court, to try to understand why that remark is illegal or unlawful. No, it's not incitement. Mm-hmm. And also, Baba has said before, we will get a 1 million march to State House. You remember that kind of statement. And the youth emulated him in 2024. And you could see what happened. You see, the difference between Baba's statements and what he has taught his children, quote unquote, is that they will actually implement whatever Baba says, these young people are willing to implement. Now, just a while ago, you have played Makaure's clip, and you can see what Makaure is saying. He said, if we don't get police punished for that injustice they did to us, then he has made a very, very serious statement. So are you going, and Mheshimiwa here has said, are you going to start putting people in jail every morning, every evening for what they say? So I think the onus is on Kenya Kwanza to go back to the drawing table and promise Kenyans that for sure we will not interfere with the elections. Mm-hmm. In fact, Ruto should be, as his opening remarks, he should say, I know you're calling me Kasongo, you called me, I must go home, you're telling me this. I want to promise you that I will not be interfering with the elections in 2027. If you send me home, I will go. That will bring cooling peace to the country. I mean, but the way they are talking, you see people coming on air, the close allies of William Ruto, the way they are talking to Kenyans, they are expressing bitterness, and you keep wondering why. Because the mood of the people is that they should have a change of leadership at State House. And by the way, I don't see why anybody should be so bitter about this. Mm-hmm. You can leave State House, probably later you can come back, who knows? I mean, Trump lost, he has come back. So let people not feel that they are in jail or imprisoned into your method of leadership or governance. Okay. People can say they don't want you, that's okay, that's their choice. People can say, and by the way, this is true, Fred, I don't think anybody will try to steal 2027 elections. Not with the intelligence that is available to everybody, not with the learned, very highly educated young people we have, who have understood systems more than we used to understand them previously. So nobody should panic and start saying we will arrest you. There is no need even to say we will arrest you. You should arrest him, then we go to court, and then we see what the court... And
any such action, Borakirwa, if at all they move to arrest Rigathi Gachagua, that would definitely lionize him more. The issue is when Rigathi Gachagua was impeached sometime last year, the expectation by UDA and Kenya Kwanza was that he was going to fizzle out politically in a matter of weeks. This is months later, and the Deputy President, the Interior CS are still going on podiums talking about the former Deputy President. That means he has become seriously a thorn in the flesh.
Yeah, it's true. Should he be arrested, I think they will give him new bonga points that will allow him to be elevated to another level. And that would give him a free headline stories and also galvanize the support he already enjoys even more than it is today. The second issue is that we need to really, the way Wakili has said, to fundamentally ask ourselves what is the preceding statement. Remember, one of the MPs, I think that's Oscar Sudi, said even if the votes will not be enough, we shall add. So if they plan to add the votes, that is where we'll precipitate disaster. But if they have no intention of adding votes that don't exist, we have no problem. And therefore, what is important is for them to say, no, this thing we are winning without any manipulation of any votes. And that prepares the country to be peaceful and also to prepare for either the same person to be returned by majority of votes or the same person to go home. And possibly we deal with the new leadership. So it is important for them to know that Rigathi Gachagua, where he is today, he has acquired another status that when they were impeaching him, they underrated the influence that he was going to galvanize. And many people, including ordinary Kenyans from Rift Valley, the Kalenjin in Rift Valley, they were telling the president, we did not know Gachagua. It is you who brought him. Now, why do you want to bring this issue to the public? I remember there is a lady from Kipsigis who told the current president that President Moi was able to hold this country for 24 years. Why are you allowing us to destroy this country when it is in your hands? And that statement, I still have it in my phone, was so informed by certain wisdom. And the lady from Baringo said, we did not know this Gachagua. You brought him? Why don't you resolve your issues in Nairobi? Don't do whatever you are telling us you want to do. Which means actually in terms of public participation, the Kalenjins who support the current president were very clear they did not want Gachagua to be impeached. And the AD listened to his own community. By now, things would be different. You would have actually been able to tame Gachagua and even drop him towards the next general election. But now he has created a monster in him. So he created Gachagua, so he must deal with Gachagua. It is not us to be told we are going to deal with him, taking him to court. Taking him to court is actually making him a mountain. And he will not be able to touch him again for the rest of the period. Up to
Fred,
2027.
I don't take Mheshimiwa's mic, but are you seeing that contradiction of Oscar Sudi says that if we lose elections, you know that's an affront to institutions.
Yeah.
It's very bad to IBC. When you speak like that and you are not the one who counts the votes, what methodology will you use to add vote? Now, that is the person who's supposed to be in court.
Yeah.
That's now the guy who's supposed to be charged now, so that citizens know that, okay, Kenya Kwanza is extremely serious about 2027 elections.
All right. One of the senior-most politicians to speak about the remarks by the former deputy president is the current deputy president, Kithure Kindiki. We have a story on Kindiki warning Gachagua over incitement. Let's watch that story and see exactly what the professor said.
Loose-lipped politicians in the country may find themselves in hot water after the government said it will tighten up against politicians who are found spreading hate messages in the country.
2 years and some months before an election, some of the leaders of this country are busy putting the country on a campaign mode. Biblia inasema kuna kila jambo iko na majira yake. Wakati wa campaign ukifika ndio wakati wa campaign. Sasa hivi ni wakati wa kusukuma mambo ya maendeleo, barabara na stima na maji. And I want to say without any fear of contradiction, any leader who is encouraging early political campaigns does not wish our country well, because we cannot be a country that campaigns from day one, year one to year 5. It is unfortunate and unpatriotic to put the country on a campaign mode. Lakini kwa sababu kuna demokrasia, kama hawatasikia waendelee na mambo yao, hatuna shida. Kuna watu wanatabiri vita. Nataka niwahakikishie wananchi wote wa Kenya kwa niaba ya serikali na kwa niaba ya Rais William Ruto ya kwamba uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027 utakuwa wa huru na haki. As government, we will go out of our way to make sure that the election and the people's choices for all seats, the election is peaceful, democratic, free and fair, because that is what the Constitution demands of us. And I also want to ask the people who are prophesying violence to warn them that our country has gone through very painful moments in the past because of political violence. And we would not want our country to go back there.
It's a rather sober statement, especially on the issue of democracy and how the rule of law with regard to the electoral process from the former deputy president. I know the initial statement he made about Kenya being on a campaign mode may not really make sense because he appears to be on a campaign mode himself. But if we may gauge the statement with regard to the promise that this government will ensure that the next elections are free and fair, probably the most sober of all the comments you've seen.
Fred, I was watching very carefully as the Deputy President spoke. And the only place where he got a few claps from that audience, if you watch it again, is when he said the elections will be free and fair. Mm-hmm. By the way, you know, the Kenyans were just watching him and listening to him. But when he said that confirmation, you could hear a few claps. That's an indication as to what Kenyans want. And that should be the language of government. The only problem is that he mixed it up with all sorts of threats, and it makes what he said validly almost get lost, because if you start by saying early campaigns and you are campaigning, you know, by the way, now let me tell you, who is the master of early campaigns in this country? I mean, we should direct that information to the right people who are campaigning right now. I do want to believe that what Kenyans want to hear from this government, what Gachagua wanted to hear from this government, is that assurance. And there's no way you're going to repeat the threat. Just focus on that assurance. But the question, and Wakili here has helped us understand, the people who should be in court, charged, are the people who are threatening to steal elections. Vainly, they're saying we're going to steal those elections. So, I mean, anybody who is now saying, okay, even if it's your brother, you must then stop them from saying things that may implicate this current government in the plan to steal elections. And I'm very happy, by the way, with what the young people are saying. The clip that showed Makaure and Marara speaking to young people, saying, if they do this, we will do this. That is the freedom they have. Those guys, if you tell them about 207, they don't even know what happened in 207. They want something new. They want an assurance like the one that Kindiki has given. And I think if you want to really lead this country well, even the president of this country should come out and say, assure Kenyans that 2027 elections will be free and fair. There'll be no interference. I tell you what, the current team of IEBC, the ones that have been now just formed, whatever the commission, they must speak that language from now henceforth. Assure Kenyans that when under our watch, you will have nothing to fear. They must do that, because already there's a suspicion that it's a government entity. So the only way they can save themselves now is to say, from day one, when they go to the media, that we can assure you that the elections in 2027 will be safe under our watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Questions about IEBC that is yet to be vetted by Parliament. The vetting begins next week from Monday, the 27th of this month. But this kind of talk about whether or not the elections will be free and fair, that definitely puts a lot of pressure on the team that is even yet to be vetted by Parliament. The same team that has already been taken to court, 4 of the members already, the 4 members, including the chairperson, already questioned. Doesn't it just put a lot more pressure on IEBC?
Now, it's called Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. So it's independent. So, and you know, it's like a judge, once, or a commission, independent commission, once it has been commissioned and put in office, they must be independent. I don't mind about the matters in court, yes, they will be prosecuted, it will be, some finding will come out. But what Erastus should tell the people, in fact, from the date of vetting in Parliament, he should make it very clear that I'm above any partisan interests. I will ensure that this election is free and fair. But speech alone is cheap, you know, talk is cheap if you do not show by action what you will do. There must be systems in place to show that in event you are going to do grassroots elections, we will not interfere and we will not allow any arm of government or private citizen to interfere with your right to contest. So if he can say that and the whole team comes out and says the same, and then they show us the systems that they will put in place to arrest any intent of rigging elections. And then they should be transparent. They should say, we shall use these machines, this is the system, you can audit it as citizens at any time, you know, at the ground you vote, and then, you know, your person has the paper and you load it, you upload it to the system, you can audit how the system is. If he says like that, I can assure you that there will be a recall of Parliament and probably look for how to get another chairman of the IEBC. So we want to hear that talk, basically.
All right.
Yeah.
On the IEBC, Bwana Kirwa, this, when people are saying tutaongeza, hata kama hatashinda tutaongeza kura, then that definitely puts pressure on the commissioners.
Yeah, it puts pressure on the commission. But allow me just to say this, Fred. When I saw those Kenyans who have been picked, for me, it doesn't matter. I find them, when you check their background, they are good people. But we hope they are not going to succumb to the emasculation of institutions, because we know this regime, and that is where the fear emanates from. This regime has emasculated almost every other institution of government, starting with the National Assembly, the Senate, the judiciary, and also within even the executive. It is more of one-man show. These are some of the fears that we have, that yes, they are good people, and I just want to recommend them, that yes, they are just having a chance to enter the annals of history of the good books of this country, that when so-and-so ran the election with the support of so-and-so, the IBC as is proposed, that is when elections were seen to be free and fair. It will be the biggest news for Kenyans, and we want to encourage them not to fear anything, because yes, the regime of the day may have power today, but if they're able to announce the correct results for all positions in government and minimize the number of petitions after the next general election, that would be something that should be thought about. And as the Wakili said, it is an affront to any institution to say that we are going to add the votes without using, you know, when we lose, that we are not going to be one term because we shall be able to manipulate the votes. what instruments are they going to use? They are the ones actually who are precipitating the situation that they make people feel already these elections have been stolen. And I want to disabuse many Kenyans who say President Ruto is going to steal the election. I don't want us to put it in his mind that he's capable of stealing elections without running into serious trouble. And I just want to remind him and those who do not know the history of Africa that there are 4 presidents who have been one term. President of Zambia, President of Botswana, and 2 in West Africa. And in one of the countries, actually the wife of the president, when they were traveling from abroad, told him the situation at home is not good. So the guy never ran for a second term. So if the situation reaches that level and the president is told this is a bad election for you, he can cool his shoes, then come back after 5 years, try it again, win or lose, and that is democracy. This is something that we should encourage Kenyans to know. You see, unfortunate thing about William Ruto, he has not directly lost elections himself, and therefore is of this notion that there is no election that he can lose. When he lost the election in AU, when he was trying to promote Prime Minister Raila Odinga to be the chair of AU Commission, that was the first time he got a setback. And you could see he was feeling so bad, akin to the situation he was feeling in 2002 when President Uhuru lost when he supported him. If you check that picture of 2002 and the picture that you saw in AU, President Ruto is allergic to being declared a loser. And therefore, I just want to advise him that yes, this election, the way it is, and I've been around slightly longer than him, is likely to lose. And when you lose with a margin of 2 million, there is no way you can rig. And you know, people think, you know, logistically, even this issue that, oh, they are going to bring other people from other countries, to bring even people from one constituency to the other, even 2,000 people, it is a logistical nightmare. So I would rather he deals with Kenyans. He does not import people to come and become pseudo-voters when they are not the people of this country.
Fred, it's very important that perception is being demystified because there's a perception. You know, winning, by the way, winning or losing, creating governments starts with perception. And when you see people saying that William Ruto can never lose, number one. Then now there's another line they are using that he's already finished. Elections in 2027 have already, this is what we hear in the village. They've already finished. So we should make it clear that it is people who vote, and actually anybody can win and anyone can lose. Especially now when Raila Odinga is saying, he's actually contradicting his elder brother, who is extremely vigorous about share yetu mutulete hapa,